The Chinook itself, it can only handle so much weight getting over, you know that. Over the mountains, we had to drop weight in order to insert. Now we're fighting just like they are. They realized we had no body armor. We just had the clothes on our back and the guns in our magazine.
Desire to
go. That's right. Yeah, we can't say enough about the 160th. Not only for just getting us in, but the resupply operations that fed us through the campaign. We were actually moving a lot faster than they thought once we got into the groove. Once we were calling in the airstrikes and taking the high ground, we started moving really quick.
Incredible logistical effort to make that happen.
The one time I realized that we were going to win is we were on a riverbank. I looked south, straight down the river, and I noticed this huge column of horses with cavalry on it. That is the one point I knew we were going to win.
Hello, welcome everybody to another episode of American Grit with myself, Tim Jensen. We have a great show for you this afternoon, or today, however time of day you're listening to this podcast. But we have a great guest. You might know them as individuals that portrayed in some Hollywood movies. They're book writers. They are some high-speed, super secret squirrel guys that have gone and changed the world as we know it in response to one of the most harrowing events in the modern era. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to all of you members of ODA 595. You might know them as the Horse Soldiers, but they are two gentlemen and their writer, Mr. Jim DeFelice, that have really been telling this incredible story of their time in Afghanistan. Welcome to the show, Mark Nutsch and Bob Pennington. How's it going, gentlemen?
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks
for having us.
Yeah.
Hell, that's one of the best
things
I've ever heard in my life.
he almost called me a gentleman. I'm kind of privileged, I know it's like kind of on that edge. So I'm working it. I'm working it. Yeah.
So I can't stop him though because it sounded so good.
I know.
Anybody that wears a polo falls into the gentleman.
There you go.
Well, it's great to have you guys on the show. We've been talking about this for some time, and we've been working together in many different ways for some time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys have. We went down to your headquarters down in Florida, and got to sip some of the finest bourbon I've ever put my lips around.
Yes.
In fact, when I went up to the team room, I had some of that secret stuff that nearly burned a hole in my liver.
You got up there.
See, that's the only reason Jim wrote the book with us, because he could partake in all the whiskey that we could get.
Absolutely.
We're on you know how hard it is to find a best-selling author that'll work for bourbon? Jim DeFelice.
The list is short.
There you
go. So you got down to Tampa to the Urban Stillhouse and checked out the Horse Soldier Bourbon headquarters down there?
Yes, quite fantastic. If you guys have not had that experience, it is an open place. They have great food. Probably one of the coolest bourbon distilleries that I've ever gone into. And I've seen a lot. I even had a brand that we were participating in many moons ago. But I will say, top-notch operation down there, and the people, I think, is what makes that brand really, really special.
Thank you.
And so great team and great juice, as they say in the biz.
Absolutely. We appreciate that.
Yeah. So, and that's just one part of this incredible story that you guys have been participating in, really starting before 2001 and the events of 9/11. In your times in the Special Forces and Green Berets, and I'd love to hear a little bit about the things that were happening up before 9/11, and then what was the whole story after, which is an incredible story. I've had the opportunity to thumb through the book, and I've seen the movies, and got to talk with a lot of you guys, and the interactions over the years, and hearing it all straight from the horse's mouth.
No pun intended,
so to speak. Yeah.
So I'm excited to share this story with everybody because, really the events that led, those first few weeks and months after the attack on 9/11 really changed the course of this country and how we interpret war, how we engage in conflict on the ground, and, using these special forces operations to tie into, the local populations, taking what we built in Vietnam and putting that into hyperspeed. And you guys led that, and I'm just an honor to be in your presence, and I'm sure I've shared this with you all before. But you guys are the tip of the spear, leading the way in America's defense. So tell us a little bit about how it all started.
And we love those words, honestly. But yeah, it's we would be sitting here thinking about unconventional warfare was what we never expected to be launched for us. Mm-hmm. And here we are back again. just like the days in Vietnam.
Yeah.
That was surprising to us. It was surprising to everyone. No one knew that that's how we were going to go in. That's how we were going to work on the ground. And, it was very surprising, but it took a lot of our own time to study and realize what we needed and the things that we needed to gather to be successful on the battlefield for that mission.
Yeah, the one thing I have to point out, while in a lot of ways comparing it to Vietnam makes a lot of sense, and a lot of what you did built not only on Vietnam, going back to World War II, even some of the action there in Europe and stuff. But this was, you guys may be a little shy about saying this, but this was the most successful irregular warfare campaign ever. Certainly in modern times. I mean, you overthrew a country, and there was your team, maybe a couple of other teams, some CIA guys, a lot of Air Force and Navy and other supporters. But what you did was phenomenal. It's textbook.
Just became the right combination of people, from the guys on our team, on the 595 team, just great bunch of Americans, senior Special Forces NCOs. Average age was 32. Averaged 8 years time in service when 9/11 happened. Bob and 4 of the others were already Special Forces combat veterans from Somalia or the first Gulf War or Bosnia. And just, that unconventional warfare training was our team's focus. And a number of the teams that had that as their mission focus got asked to help spearhead Task Force Dagger's efforts to link up with the allies. We didn't know a whole lot about them. That was going to be the Northern Alliance and the different ethnic and tribal leaders in the north there, from the Uzbeks, the Tajiks, the Hazaras, that were already in armed rebellion against the Taliban. And so our mission was to, we went in by helicopter with the 160th, with those guys, and we got on the ground. We linked up with the CIA team. That was to be our partners. We'd be co-located and interdependent throughout that whole mission. Still in touch with those guys today, 20-some years later. And to include the Afghan allies that just rose up to fight on horseback in the mountains. And you're leveraging all of America's resources with an aerial armada of aircraft coming in overhead, from close air strikes to coordinating that fire and maneuver on the ground. Just an incredible experience doing that.
There's a lot of improvisation too, that you guys were, from the horses to the John Deere Gator that just shows up.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, our main task is unconventional warfare as Special Forces soldiers. And what was unique is we had studied, we studied hard as the team to conduct UW. At the same time, Higher was always looking at changing that face, because they thought it would never be conducted again. And sure enough, we opened the door again at the right time.
Time is the teller of all time.
Time is the teller.
It was the CIA director, Tenet, I'm told, that proposed that in a national security meeting with President Bush. They proposed matching the CIA intelligence operatives with Special Forces on the ground, and then link them up with the Northern Alliance, the resistance groups, to actively fight the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. And so it became the main strategy.
Yeah.
Well, not a lot known. It may surprise you. Our operations order was just a few 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper.
Right.
Pretty much get in there and figure it out. So the whole thing was
sounds like American intelligence.
It's hilarious. They go, all right, here's your mission. It was 2 sheets and a quarter. And they said, plan off of this. And we all looked at each other and went, you guys joking?
I think before we jump into all that, I think we have a lot of listeners that are fascinated by the military space, right? A lot of people that have never put on the uniform and listen and consume this content. I think it would be appropriate to kind of frame it up. Right, we're talking about Operational Detachment Alpha 595. What is an ODA team? What were you guys doing before that, and how did you guys get selected for this particular mission? I think that is always a fascinating story to share, because it's not like you just walked on the scene. There's tryouts to some reasonable degree.
There is tryouts. And we can go into selection and assessment. That is, that's something that its own unique. But let's go to the team itself. A 12-man team. 12-man team is made up of a captain, a warrant. The captain is the detachment commander. The warrant is the assistant detachment commander. Then you have the team sergeant, who's an E8. Then you have the intelligence sergeant, who's an E7. And then from there, you have the MOSs that actually help solidify the team. Those are the headquarter elements of the team. Mm-hmm. And then now you have the Bravos, which are the weapon sergeants, the Charlies, who are the engineer and demolition sergeants, and, they just like to blow crap up. The Deltas, who are the medics, and then, of course, the Echoes, who are the communications. And so you have 2 of each of those guys, so you can do split team operations. So that's basically the setup of the ODA,
right.
ODA 595.
That's incredible. So, you get some the CIA guys that come in, and we all operate off of 5-paragraph orders, and we're attuned to saying, hey, this is what we're going to be doing. You get 2.5 pieces of paper with probably 50% of accurate intelligence laying out the situation.
I would say a lot less.
To me, it reemphasized of somebody has to be first.
Yeah.
And I mean, we submitted the RFIs up, the request for information that you would expect any team to do that gets assigned this to start to learn about it. But there's no answers coming back from the higher headquarters. But we didn't wait. We're reading every bit of books and
National
materials.
Geographic.
We joke about literally reading National Geographic magazines. They couldn't give us, because they didn't have them ready to print, the right size maps that we needed. So again, we're looking at tourist maps of Afghanistan to learn about the people, the terrain, the geology, the geography, where are the main cities, what does this faction do? Who are they? And so we're doing that area study on our own about all of that, and recognizing that we are going to work with someone, most likely, in this unconventional warfare type of situation. So who is that? Who should that be?
Yeah.
And some of the officers, disappeared off. Some of the senior field grades and senior sergeant majors floated down to Tampa, to the special operations headquarters there, and they start to try to figure some things out. But
there is a tryout, though.
Yeah, to me, it just emphasized someone has to go on the ground and figure that out. And that's the key part of what special operations does broadly, where we have teams deployed around the world now to kind of be in there and keep your finger somewhat on the pulse of what's happening and some of the challenges that our allies are faced with and some of the threats. But the guys on that team, I just can't say enough about them. Just the right team, right place. And then the other teams that came in there in that early phase, we're all kind of similar in that senior, we weren't young guys. Like I said, average age 32. That shocks a lot of people. We already had 8 years time in service,
10 guys married.
Yeah.
Well, that's, and that's a significant thing about Special Forces, Green Berets in general. What you find, unlike a lot of special operations units, these, very mature soldiers who have been in the Army a while have, excelled before they get to even be considered, to get on a team.
Yeah, I mean, even at that time of the operation, I think I had 16 years at that time.
Yeah.
A couple of years as a warrant, but most of that time, I went up to the ranks as an E7, so I was very senior. But all the guys were senior except for our engineer guys. They were the youngest guys on the team, but they were very qualified.
Yeah, because I would say, in that time period of your life, and the majority of being 30, average age 32, like, you're not reacting to things. You're responding to things. You're a little wiser, longer in the tooth. You have that experience of big Army and understanding more nuances.
More seasoned.
Right.
Anticipating.
Anticipating is a great word.
I was a ROTC commissionee out at Kansas State University and got active duty, which is what I wanted, in infantry, and did that, down at Fort Benning and Ranger School. And then I was at the 101st initially and had some great experiences there and some great mentors in the leadership as a young lieutenant. And then I was fortunate, I got to go to 3rd Ranger Battalion as a platoon leader for a couple more years. And that was my introduction to the special operations, doing the readiness exercises there and interacting with the SEALs and the other special operations units. And from 160th to the Air Force units, and then that's why I wanted to be part of that, and I want to stay in Special Forces. So then I tried out for that and made it, and I was one of the first guys that had Russian come into 5th Group at that time. I equate my Russian language abilities at about caveman level, you know. But
it was surprising that we actually used the Russian, you know, and myself, I was an Urdu speaker, but it didn't really come into play there. We had more speakers
Arabic,
in the Afghan side that spoke Russian. So
that's going back to the period of the 80s. Fighting the Russians.
That's right, 1888.
And that's our team uniquely spent almost 6 months in Uzbekistan in the year 2000. They were just we were there on a training mission to work with one of the Uzbek Spetsnaz units, and they were already in active conflict with Al-Qaeda affiliates that were conducting large-scale attacks across that country, you know, from 98, 99, and 2000. And that experience and insight into Al-Qaeda and the region and is a key reason why our team and a handful of others were picked to spearhead that initial effort into Afghanistan.
And during our training there in Uzbekistan, they actually had a conflict that was launched. So of course, being good Green Berets, we stepped up and said, "Hey, we'd like to participate in this."
Yeah.
Of course, SOC said their thought process is, "No, not today. Let's keep you out of this fight."
Right. We don't need the Cowboys yet.
We don't need the Cowboys yet.
It was a lot of insight there to what that ally was faced with, though. Our counterparts came back. I mean, we took a break in training. They went off and fought for a couple weeks, and then they came back and they debriefed us on what they had done. Yeah. That was the level of rapport, and so we're reporting that.
Yeah, but I think that seasoned our maturity too.
Yeah,
that seasoned us going forward, like you say, and that was a big part of, you know, when you get guys out in the combat situations, and you're average age 32, but you guys actually sit down and you develop a plan more calmly.
Yeah,
in my opinion, and you adapt and you overcome.
Yeah.
The other thing we were very confident about in Tim is we cross-trained a lot. It's like Bob described the main MOS as the main skill set, but every guy on that team, I mean, everybody had to be able to shoot. Everybody had to be able to treat themselves or a buddy. Not as good as the medic. I'm not doing field surgery, but I got to be able to do that tactical triage there. And everybody had to be able to operate those radios and put them into action. And just that level of cross-training allowed us to be very adaptable and flexible. Special Forces team, as Bob described a few minutes ago, was 12 guys. You're equipped to split into two 12-man teams almost to mirror each other. Bob would take half the team, I have the other half. And but we went a step further, where because of that focus and reading history books and things, we had trained and were planned to split down into whatever we needed. Is that a 4-man cell? Yeah. Is it 3-man? Is it a 2-man team? Or in some cases, a singleton that we're sending him out with a group. And we did that on the battlefield from the very first day in Afghanistan. We split the team into the 2 6-man sections. And by the second day in country, we split down to 3-man cells. And eventually our team would split into 4 3-man cells. We got 2 of the Air Force JTACs came in to work with us. After about 10 days, they got them in on the ground. And the 14 of us split up like that in 4 3-man cells, and myself and one of my communicators stayed with the resistance leadership and moved on horseback around the battlefield. But the 3-man cells, Bob's and the others, they're with a different commander, but they're literally in like a different county.
Right. Yeah,
there's a major terrain feature between.
Yeah, the distance between you guys was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, but it was necessity. We didn't just come up with the idea and say, let's do this. It was really out of necessity. We had to open the battlefield, expand. And to do it, we had to break down, divide the members up into cells and then push them out with their sub-commanders, like Mark spoke of.
Absolutely. Pure military tactics, we know that splitting forces is never a wise idea.
Right.
Unless that is absolutely necessity to the accomplishing the mission.
Yeah, but here you're right ordinarily, but here they became like kind of force multipliers, and all of a sudden you had multi-dimensional stuff going on in the battlefield.
Right.
And as we really describe in the book, I mean,
we had to think strategically and in depth.
Yeah.
So there's a tactical fight in front of us where there's Taliban and Al Qaeda fighters, and they're heavily armed with tanks and heavy arms and equipment. And our force is on horseback with AKs and the PKM machine gun, and their heaviest weapon is really an RPG.
Right.
But then, like, we're all terrain, all weather, cross country with that horse, swimming rivers at night, up and down cliffs, day or night, got snowed on. It was insane.
But which
from all that
proved to be invaluable because it actually gave us better mobility.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to maneuver around the battlefield easily.
But
taking go trails and getting the high ground.
They got
one thing.
close air support.
Hold on though, you haven't really explained how much training you had with horses. I know that you had
I've had
enormous
quarter horse training.
Yeah. You had a lot of quarter horse training back.
Yeah. So you ever been to Kmart? That machine you throw the quarter in? That fucking little horse.
Yes, sir.
That was
the extent?
Like quarter horse training.
Now, Mark was the outlier there.
Yeah, I was at the other end of the spectrum where I'd grown up ranching family in Kansas, rodeoed as a kid through junior high, high school, and actually competed for 2 years at the collegiate level.
Yeah.
In team roping and calf roping at that point. But Pete, one of our other guys, had a little bit of background, but yeah, Bob and the other 10 guys, maybe mom and dad took him to the carnival as a kid, or a youth camp, summer camp. So these guys did an amazing job riding horseback, and there's no manuals, right?
Yeah.
At that time, the last.
The 12 strong, at the opening, where the guys they meet up with Dostum and then they get on the horses and you sit back and watch. Well, that was probably one of the funnest times for me because I, of course, didn't ride the first day, and I'm sitting back watching these guys, these newbies, aside from Mark, trying to get on these horses and ride away, and they're doing these 360s. They're falling off. They can't hold on.
We
to the
literally
reins.
that scene is one of my favorites in the movie because it was literally depicted
perfectly,
fairly accurate.
It was
quite quickly. Was. Yes, let's go. I will take you to see the Taliban, and we're leaving right now.
Right.
And so 6 of us are scrambling. We're trying to brief Bob the contingency plans and where we're going to go, and we don't know where we're going to go. We're just following this new ally, and 50 horsemen. And they're anxious to go, and they mount up and ride off.
Yeah.
And then they leave about 10 of them with us and the 6 horses. And I had to kind of slow down and get the guys on the horse. Now the horse is constantly in motion. Yeah. They ride stallions, which, they want to fight and kick and bite, and they want the heavy American off there. But, how do you carry a rifle in combat?
Right.
What gear do I keep on my body?
It looks completely easy.
Oh, doesn't it look easy?
Rambo, right? When he was traversing the Afghanistan mountainside, shooting a 60 cal, 60 from his hip.
If John Wayne can do this, I can do this.
Yeah, right.
No,
right.
not really.
Right.
You should have seen Bob with 2 Berettas.
But I thought,
and he had a sword between his teeth.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's what is unique about the GWOT conflict in general, right? Is even from the special forces and group guys down to the conventional warfighter, it was forcing the United States military to break itself from symmetrical warfare.
Yeah.
And start thinking outside the box in ways that it has not had to do really since Vietnam, right? When we encountered the insurgency of the NBA versus the Viet Cong, right?
Yeah.
And those were tactics that had pretty much gone stale, right? The only organization that was keeping that alive was Special Forces and the snake eating aspects of our training between that break in history. So when this conflict comes up and 595 is tapped to go in there. And you got those first 10 days of darkness where you're on the ground with nothing other than your 12-man team of force multipliers that everybody can do their job. And you can split it down to that singleton, as you called it.
Yeah.
That is
a lot of risk, immeasurable risk
right?
at that point.
And the entire world is on your shoulders, right? You're sitting there in this forward deployed area talking to warlords saying, God, if I make a bad decision right now, like America back home is watching.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, those are the things that that we wait.
Yeah, but
and then the other
it wasn't just. I was going to say
the time that you have the headquarters element that's screaming at you to do something.
Yeah.
Wait, it's not just the headquarters element. The Secretary of Defense of the United States was on your case, literally. And Mark told him where to go.
Holland, our 5th Group commander and the Task Force Dagger commander at the time there, he's under immense political pressure, and the secretary was skipping over even General Franks, the 4-star, and one of his staffers is calling direct to the group headquarters, in Uzbekistan, and going, why aren't you getting them in there? Well, there's horrific weather conditions. We don't want to crash an MH-47 into a mountain. The 160th showed incredible maturity and professionalism to say no and back away. I mean, to me, that made me take notice. It's like, man, if the 160th guys say they can't get in there, it must be bad. But then just with that patience, then we finally got everybody in there. We didn't lose an airframe or a crew, and they got our team and others in on the ground where we needed it. And just that political pressure finally broke through after a week on the ground.
Yeah, we can't say enough about the 160th. Not only for just getting us in, but the resupply operations that fed us through the campaign, because we were actually moving a lot faster than they thought once we got into the groove. Once we were calling in airstrikes and then taking the high ground, we started moving really quick.
Yeah.
And so they were constantly giving us resupply in multiple positions or directions. So that in itself that took a lot of planning.
Incredible logistical effort to make that happen. Yeah. And the more I've learned about it over the years, just with the special operations logisticians, getting the supplies from foreign weapons to ammunition to American radio batteries and food and water and whatever that was, horse feed, crazy Kanajan standard things, and they're palletizing it and flying it in. Special operations, the Air Force C-130 crews flying that in there in the dead of night and dropping it off to these teams that are on the ground. And it just, that effort every night was incredible. 24 days in that phase for us, in the unconventional warfare phase in the mountains, organizing those 3 different resistance groups, uniting an army of thousands to rise up and fight everywhere across the 6 northern provinces. I'm very proud of our team and the handful of Americans that were on the ground there, from the CIA to the Air Force JTACs to the other Special Forces teams that came in there. Just incredible effort. And
talk about the feed, though, that Mark brought up. We thought, that's going to build rapport. We're going to get the feed, bring it to Dostum, and his men get it, and they push it out to the horses, of course. But they didn't really care about the feed. They just wanted money and bullets. Give me that. That's all I want. Yeah. We have the feed. We can take care of our horses. And they did a fantastic job of taking care of their horses in that terrain, in those areas. That's their livelihood, the horse.
Exactly.
I mean, I know y'all have been in Texas here. You've been to a few county fairs, state fair in here. You got the San Antonio Rodeo, right?
Indeed.
Can you imagine 300 or more horses in a movement and element, tactically using the terrain, moving around the battlefield? But then we had over almost 3,000 horses in there. It was incredible.
I couldn't believe. I can't imagine that, right? Because I was just watching the movie Napoleon, right? And seeing that that was a mere 200 years ago, right, in the grand scheme of things. But the movements on horseback and what he was doing with that was. I'm watching this movie like, my God, like. How far we have come.
Yeah.
But to know that we were relying back onto those old strategies, to traverse the treacherous mountainside of Afghanistan with warlords that don't like each other, and they're all trying to kill one another for the fiefdom that they're trying to create. Like, let's spend a little bit of time of like, what is the mental jujitsu or that you were employing during that time period to bring these warlords together? That had to be incredible.
I think before you, that's a really good point. But before you get there, I think you should describe Dostum, because he is the kind of the big guy, the warlord above all warlords.
I'll let Mark do that. But going back to the horses, and we were thinking like them too. We really were. The one time I realized that we were going to win is we were on a riverbank, and I was actually on a John Deere. We'd found a couple of John Deere I'll just say found. Found a couple of John Deere, apprehended.
Yes.
There's more explanation
there's
in the
more
book, but I think
explanations.
we'll
keep out of that
yeah,
one.
Yeah.
And but we tried to get it across the river, and it flooded out. So I was stuck here in the middle of the river, and kind of being disgusted right now. So I asked the guys to throw me a rope. They were laughing. They threw me a rope from the horse to try to pull me in. But at that time, I looked south, straight down the river, and I noticed this huge column of horses with cavalry on it. That is the one point I knew we were going to win.
Yeah.
We've got the momentum, and it's building.
That was it.
It's catching on fire.
It's catching on fire.
Yeah.
But you had to treat each of those leaders with respect, listen to what they had to say. Mm-hmm. They've been at war for a number of years. They're the survivors, right? And it was a history lesson to me, because they would explain as they were moving along, hey, we fought here against the Soviets, or hey, we fought here against the Mujahideen and other factions. So that daily history lesson, but then reflecting on some of my own training, as an infantry officer, we had still did some Civil War battlefield visits, and had learned about, for me, when you do that, I chose to, because of that passion for horses, to write about or learn about American or U.S. or Confederate cavalry. Mm-hmm. And some of those lessons, and the frontier cavalry lessons growing up in Kansas and visiting the Cavalry Museum at Fort Riley. So those suddenly kind of come back, right? Because there's no manual.
Yeah.
The U.S. Army last rode horses in 1942 in combat. So again, we're figuring it out. But we had to share the hardships with them. We're sleeping outdoors on the ground, exposed to the elements. We got snowed on. Everything challenged you mentally, physically. Everything was trying to kill you, from the mines that were everywhere to the cliffs or trails, and then that weather coming in and being exposed to that. We shared meals with them as well, to understand more on their level what they were faced with, the challenges, what they'd been through, and really to ask their advice. The enemy, the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, what can we do? And Dostum and the other main leaders had a very sound plan. And then we were able to meet separately with each of them, along with our CIA counterparts. And then we got them to agree to come together in what we call an area commanders meeting for several days, where that was high adventure. You get these three faction leaders in the same room. It's not much bigger than this one, and they all brought 100 of their closest heavily armed friends.
Right.
So Bob and I are inside. A couple of our guys are on the door, and
they're pulling security because we still don't know about this situation.
And the rest,
not one of them has good trigger discipline.
No, not at all.
Yeah. But and then a couple of our guys are floating between the factions outside, and this is well in the days before the green on blue things that they could come to know. But we were very conscious or worried about, a kind of insider attack. And we let them know we were here ready to fight. And some of the perceptions going into 9/11 is, even General Dostum, their perception was no American could be killed or injured, or America will withdraw its forces and you'll leave. That was the perception. To have a conversation with a senior leader that I'm there to work with, and explain to him 9/11 happened and things are different, and take us to the enemy, show us where they're at. And we were pretty aggressive in that, and that earned their respect. Every guy on our team, they didn't know our rank or full name, but they referred to every guy, including even our youngest sergeants, as a commander. And these guys just demonstrated by that actions and leadership, despite the language barriers, of, follow me and let's go. And to be at the critical point on a battlefield to make sure that success is going to happen, and fight and survive that day.
The other part to that, of building that rapport too, is, the Chinook itself, it can only handle so much weight getting over, that, over the mountains. And so we had to drop weight in order to insert. And so one of the first things we dropped was the Kevlar. I didn't want to wear the Kevlar helmet anyway. I hate that damn thing, that Mitch helmet. So we dropped the Mitch helmet, but then we also dropped the body armor.
Yeah.
So I say naked. I call it naked, going in naked. And so we kind of went in naked, and that was a win. because now we're fighting just like they are. They realized we had no body armor. We just have the clothes on our back and the guns and our magazines.
And the desire to destroy.
And the desire to go. That's right.
Yeah.
And so
we
that was,
didn't
that
look
was
like
a big win for us.
Stormship troopers, Starship Troopers or whatever, with the body armor and looking from another planet for some of these people. But it a number of things to help build rapport with them individually up through organizationally, and advising and assisting them and helping resource them, and just incredible experience. They talk about the the horseback phase, right? They made the movie 12 Strong about it. Everybody was kind of the romanticization, if you will, of that phase, but it was some hard living. We lost 25 pounds of body weight in less than a month, burning incredible calories there in that, and just very fortunate. Hundreds of our allies lost their lives. Hundreds more were injured. And we were very fortunate.
Losing weight was not good for Will Summers because he was already down to 2% body fat anyways.
Yeah.
So that was killing him. He was looking for chocolate bars.
Boys, I need some carbs.
Anything. He wanted anything he could eat.
Yeah. But the next phase of that, after we got into Mazar-i-Sharif, liberated that major city of 300,000 people by the 10th of November is when we rode into that city.
It's a good day, Marine Corps birthday.
Yeah. We celebrated Veterans Day
right.
the next day.
Yeah.
Our allies hosted us for the first time. We all had a sit-down dinner indoors and together and commemorated Veterans Day. So a very, very momentous day for me personally. But then again, you got to keep up with it. Things are changing. It's evolving. The enemy's on the run. We've destroyed their entire Northern Army at that point with over 300 airstrikes that were employed in the run, to get to Mazar. And then
it was a better day for me before you continue, and that was we went from John Deere and horses to actual vehicles.
Yeah.
And so I've already screwed up my back now. At least I can now am a vehicle.
Right.
So
we went like 45 more days, refer to it as like the Mad Max phase, where we got ATVs, and it's now we've bought pickup trucks and SUVs downtown, and the guys are taking them to the shop, and they're going through them from bumper to bumper to, check out the tires, the shocks, and just the reliability of that 4x4 vehicle, because that's now our mobility.
Right.
And we continue to go all over the northern provinces with our allies that now they've gone from horseback to now they've got captured tanks and towed artillery, and now it's a whole different, do I have the right ammunition and parts to fix a vehicle and ammunition to go into that weapon system and keep it moving. So we're
one thing
a
about
lot more went on.
One thing about that the horse phase, as Mark alludes to, what was good for us is when the planes did come in for airstrikes, we'd always tell them, "Hey, we're on horseback. The enemy is in vehicles. We have no vehicles.
Yeah. Just destroy everything you see.
Everything that's in a vehicle, hit it and hit it hard. Otherwise, that was perfect for us.
Yeah, exactly. Like I remember the difficulty, operating in Iraq in 2004, and putting the flight panels on our vehicles, right, and trying to identify targets within the embedded insurgency.
Yeah,
that was an incredibly difficult mission because we, my platoon when we were traveling, we didn't operate without air cap. And to call air cap on a position like, hey, don't hit me. I'm the guy with the bright orange panel, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's bright orange shit trash everywhere in this country.
It is. There is. It's crazy. And we, and as we were taking village to village, we were also capturing the good Taliban.
Yeah.
There's good Taliban. That's bad Taliban. You know that.
Yep.
And so we were bringing in the good Taliban. Well, the whole idea is, are there any sleepers within that? And now they've just put a price on our head, $100,000 to get the ODA that's riding with Dostum. So nonetheless, there was not a lot of sleep going on at nights for us.
Yeah.
1 or 2 hours is all we could get. I slept with a gun on my chest. So when I got home, the gun was underneath my pillow, and it was. But I've succeeded to get it into my drawer.
Sure. Hey, it's baby steps, man.
Baby steps.
Now, when you guys took Mazar-i-Sharif, what was Dahlstrom saying at this time? Like, was he like, yes, now we take it to the wall. We destroy everybody. Like it
wasn't everybody. It was the Taliban and Al Qaeda.
You know, I mean everybody in the sense of the enemy, right?
Sense the enemy. The people. It was surreal. The people, thousands of them. As I said, I believe the population at that time was estimated at like 300,000 people. They lined the streets for miles coming into there, and now we just became the parade. And you're in that, and the army on horseback is coming in with Dostum in the back of a pickup truck, and they're turning out cheering us. We didn't raise or overtly show American flags. We're like, this is your leadership. Your factions did this, and all of them came in, and
it was like riding into France. Yeah. Over the Arc de Triomphe, we're coming in, and the streets are lined on both sides, and they're cheering.
Yep.
But again, as we're coming in, we're still looking, and every once in a while, you'll see a face that's not smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were some freshly shaved beards.
So you're like, hey, why's your?
The Taliban was not popular, certainly not in that area at all. There was
they'd been pretty brutal on the Uzbeks and Tajiks and the Hazara in the north, and that's really you had the popular support, right?
Yeah.
So we still need their help. We got the leadership together in a big fortress called Kuala Jangi. A few weeks later, there'd be a major battle there. And all the who's who turned out, but we needed their help with the airfield and heavy equipment. We needed their help keeping the lights on and the power on in the city, and the police on duty and the electricity on in what parts of the city you could do that. And then we still need their help with tell me where the Taliban and Al Qaeda are at, because we're going after them. Mm-hmm. So again, being in the cellular kind of structure, we're tasked to do a number of different things, and that's why our team could handle this full range of things. Then, of course, immediately the airfield's open. They're helicoptering in additional headquarters elements and support folks to do that. And the war moves on, and other parts of the country. And at one point, they were like, "Hey, if he wants to go to Kabul, go with him." But they were really trying to leverage Dostum against Fahim Khan over at Bagram to move and get into Kabul, and then they did. By mid-November. So
I think there's great wisdom in something as small as not flying an American flag in the moment of victory.
Yeah.
Right. And I say that because it reminds me of an experience when I was in Iraq. When we were driving through these towns, right, and you're trying to create relationships with these locals and the villagers and the sheikh and all those things. But we are often looked as the imperialists that we're coming in here to step all over the country, blah 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 blah. And I've seen it within the Marine Corps when we were operating. Marines putting little American flags on their vehicles and driving through, and it really dawned on me in one interaction that I had with an engineer in this little town right outside of Baghdad. And he walked up to me and he started communicating with me, and he started asking me questions like, "Why do you fly Iraqi flag on your vehicle?" And I was like, "Listen, I fly the Iraqi flag on the vehicle because we're here to liberate you of an oppressive government. We're here to give you freedom." And from that conversation, by flying that flag on that vehicle, we turned into an intelligence asset.
Oh yeah.
And then he started giving us all the information of all the insurgency was happening in the local area.
Yeah.
And we were able to shut that cell down extraordinarily quickly. Right, rather than going and playing into the imperialistic idea of like we're here to destroy everything and blah 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 blah.
The Westerners, they're coming in,
right? You're going with some meekness, right? But with that big stick, like Teddy Roosevelt says, we'll swat down anybody who can, but we're not here to cause trouble.
It's being respectful of their experience, their culture, their capabilities, and empowering and resourcing and enabling them to be successful, right? So it's a totally kind of different approach, right? And having conversations with those leaders at the time was more along the lines of, do not come in here in large numbers or you will be perceived like the Russians as an invader. So they were warning us already post 9/11 in the middle of that.
And what makes Green Berets so special is we really are diplomats. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we work in the embassies, but a lot of times we go to other countries and, we conduct FID operations, foreign internal defense. things like that. But we always take it upon ourselves to learn the culture, go in, adapt that culture, and actually work with those indigenous forces or military forces and help.
Yeah.
And that's what people look at. That's why, Tenet, he looked at that. He actually saw that piece in that. And that's why we were looked at as a driving force to be selected for those missions in those early days.
That's incredible.
We come out of that, and there's been a lot written about it. There's a movie, again, the 12 Strong movie, the Hollywood portrayal that evolved. There's a documentary film called Legion of Brothers that portrays our team and 2 other teams. It was Emmy nominated, I think, in
That's probably the best representative of all the films, in my belief. I'm not being a participant, but
that's out there. And then there's been a number of other books. And then we really, after that experience, and you're back in the States with your family, and life goes on, and other deployments, to Iraq or Africa or wherever that may be, we're like, we need to tell our own story. And that's where we finally connected with Jim, and wrote this amazing book, Swords of Lightning. It just came out 18 months ago. Was it May of 22? But very proud of this book and the effort we put into it. Yes. It was definitely a work of passion. And very proudly, it blew up to a #1 new release on Amazon when it came out.
It took a little longer for us to finish this book. But that's because there was the passion that Mark speaks of. It kind of overwhelmed some of us, and so you're hashing through as you're going through maps. Because we had a bunch of maps we laid out for Jim and photos, and as we're going through the maps, the photos, now you're rethinking. Everything's coming back. Mm-hmm. I just saw The Covenant, and I absolutely love that movie because it reminded me of us with our interpreters and all the things that it did for us, the magic they created for us to be successful on the battlefield.
The process. I mean, that was one thing as we worked through it. I mean, you guys really, not only were you reliving a lot of the battles and what was going on, but you hadn't really, in some cases, processed it. And, it was tough at times.
We had to reconcile some things too, again, because you get down to where there's only 2 or 3 Americans that are witnesses to these incredible events. Yeah. And it's a miracle that any of us survived it.
Sure.
And you have to deal with that as well, because there was a number of incidents where people as close as we're sitting here got shot or an explosion, RPG hit, or they step on a landmine, and that can mess with you too.
Yeah. But, it could easily have gone the other way.
Yeah, it very could have. Very could have. I feel very blessed, very fortunate, and then to share those incredible experiences with audiences across the nation. Either through Horse Soldier Bourbon, doing promotions for that, or with Kepler speakers when I get to talk to different corporate groups and share some of those leadership lessons that we use in our own business today with Horse Soldier Bourbon. It's an honor. I don't realize sometimes who all is in the audience and how much that impacts people, right? Everybody knows about 9/11. They know where they were at if you were over probably 7 years old at the time, right? But then very few know what happened September 12th and after. Just suddenly by the 5th of December, the Taliban had collapsed.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of charity events. Yeah. And within the charity events, after I'm speaking, I get a lot of people that come up to me. A lot of women come up to me because they've lost their brother or they've lost their significant other, and they give me a hug and they understand. But they walk away in tears. It is just, it almost is a healing for them in a sense.
Yeah.
Since we're talking charity, could we put a little plug in for Badger maybe? If that's okay.
Yeah, with as I said, we stayed in touch with our CIA teammates.
The work doesn't end, right?
It doesn't end. It doesn't end. Yeah. And I went back many times as a defense contractor in uniform several times. I went back on the ground in Afghanistan in between other deployments, and went back as a defense contractor and as a private citizen even doing humanitarian work in Afghanistan in the rural areas with schools and clean drinking water, things that we take for granted. Yeah. And very proud of that experience as well. But as, you know, the collapse of Afghanistan, you know, appeared imminent there, especially in 2021 in the summer, my phone started blowing up, and I was getting phone calls from Afghan friends that I knew and interpreters, and will you please help? And got involved like a number of veterans, like we discussed earlier, and I was angry, and then said, okay, I'm going to do something, and got involved with trying to help those interpreters and their families who were in a months-long evasion as a family with the Taliban checkpoints that they had to deal with, and just working with other veteran groups, this whole ad hoc amazing thing, right? From Pineapple to Dynamo to No One Left Behind to Save the Allies, all of these groups just working together in an ad hoc manner, doing what's morally right.
Yeah.
And so we formalized that into a group, a nonprofit now called Badger 6, badger6.org. And it's in honor of Mike Spann, who was one of our CIA teammates. That was his call sign. His widow, Shannon, leads our organization, and we're very focused on the 40 families that were America's first allies after 9/11. So it's Badger 6, and we've got that up and going. Very proud of that, and trying to help our interpreters that fortunate to get out of Afghanistan, and some of the commanders that worked with us.
Mike Shan was one of the original.
Mike Spann, yes.
Spann, one of the first casualties on the ground.
Yes.
In that situation.
Right.
Yes.
Former Marine.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And just very honored to be a part of that effort, and continue to help those allies that are settled in here in America, and those that are, you know, still trapped in Afghanistan, trying to help them.
Or tell me, I don't want you to pick at old wounds, but I'm sitting with two of the individuals that were in the beginning and participated in the end. Where do you sit today on the situation of Afghanistan? Is our work all gone for naught, or is there an opportunity of that country coming back into a place of
right now? There's no political will. To support the folks that were our allies for 20 years. Lot of challenges. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. But education took root, medical, healthcare, women's rights, women's education. I thought we stood for those things,
right?
And we just kind of abandoned that. Do they have enough willpower to rise up and fight with limited resources again to fight against the current Taliban government? I don't know. Not without outside resources and support.
I had the conversation with the former president, and he had asked me at one of the conventions. He said, "What do you think?" And he said, "What do you think our position should be, or what should we do at this point?" And this was back in 2018. And I said, "Well, what we need to do is pull big forces out, conventional forces out, leave special forces in, because that's their job. We can maintain and sustain the ability to control pieces and places. But we've gone so big in there that we actually caused too much chaos. We truly did. We're at a quagmire."
I firmly believe that if we'd have drawn it down to just the Special Operations Task Force with the enablers and fire support and the intel apparatus, that demonstrates commitment. You're still willing to be there and share those hardships. But when we went down to zero, and we left American citizens on the battlefield, there are just so many things that.
I think too that the situation there was always fairly, it was very complex, and there was not an immediate. Had the strategies that you guys used in the beginning been in place after your part of the mission was over, I think the outcome would have been a heck of a lot different. But we kind of fumbled from the very beginning, rather than letting the Afghans run things, and as you guys did, facilitate. Then we kind of fumbled.
Yeah,
there.
we were too focused on going to the next war, and we shouldn't have been at that time frame.
Yeah.
The focus should have been, let's take care of the problems here in Afghanistan. Let's continue to do operations in Afghanistan with the elements we have. Because we were very successful.
Yeah.
Now we're being told, when we were pulled out, I remember Mark and I, we went in to go see the 6th, Mulholland. And he said, sir, where can we go next? Can we go up to Tora Bora? Can we go here? Where do you need us? Well, you guys, you're on standby. We got to get the other teams in so they can do operations. Understand that. So we stood by, and then finally it was, okay, now you're going back. But at that time, they already said, hey, you're going back to prep and get ready for Iraq.
Yeah.
We thought, are we truly done here?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, as terrible as the situation is there now, and I think everybody agrees the situation there is terrible, there are some good seeds in there. And
Yes.
maybe I'm being ridiculously optimistic, but it's in a fight of good versus evil. Hopefully good eventually does win, and maybe the seeds that you guys help plant.
Jim,
How about you though? How do you see it?
I'm optimistic as you are, Jim. That let's think about this: 60% of the population is sub 30 years old.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And what those individuals had the opportunity and the interaction and the experience with is the grace of the American warfighter. Right. In every circumstance, there are some things that had happened that is just the byproduct of war and poor leadership. But all in all, the people of Afghanistan did receive the grace of the American warfighter and saw the best of what America puts forward in every circumstance when the warfighter is allowed to do what is right.
Yeah.
And that leaves me incredibly optimistic that hopefully there will be people later, maybe not now, but in a later position that will say, you know what, because of what we were shown by those Americans, we're willing to stand up and take our political control back into the people and throw off these chains of oppression through extremism.
Yeah.
If that happens, hey, I will be there to cheer that on.
Yeah.
And I certainly hope that
so
it
would
does.
we. So would
Yeah.
we.
Yeah. Yeah. I got asked to come back, bring your family over. At one point, I intended when my kids got older, I was going to go back
Yeah.
to the north, because when I have gone back, we were welcomed into their homes like stepsons.
Yeah.
And people are amazed by that, and I'm not walking down the street in body armor or whatever. They're not going to let anything happen to you because of their culture and their honor code, and just so proud to have been a part of that for a moment in time and had the impact that we did. Working with these guys, putting out this amazing book, Swords of Lightning, just another thing. Very proud that we were able to accomplish. We're doing some other things now. This summer, we're training up this spring. We're going to go to Normandy for the 80th anniversary of D-Day, working with Round Canopy Parachute Team down there in Palatka, Florida. And I'm looking forward to getting my old teammates and some of our family and friends that are going to come down there and go through Jump Refresher. We did this for the 75th anniversary. We had so much fun meeting those amazing World War II veterans and the people in Normandy, France, that we're so appreciative of the efforts and the sacrifice that our World War II veterans made across Europe. And so we want to go back and honor that again. We want to honor the OSS. And so we've got Team American Freedom is our jump team, if you will. It's our nonprofit that's been organized, teamamericanfreedom.org. We are...
It should be Team Geriatric.
Yeah.
What it should.
Come on. Wow. That's harsh. I mean, we're learning some we're learning some lessons again, right?
And for Mark, don't run with the wind. And for Mark, we've
some things we should know.
He's on a strong diet of milk to build those bones he broke the last time.
You combating osteoporosis.
Yeah, but no, I want to invite folks out. I mean, RC Round Canopy Parachute Team has 3 weeks in March. They're doing this training. This is the largest turnout they've ever had. And very uniquely, they have 2 of the historic C-47 aircraft that are going to be flying.
Tico Bell.
The Tico Bell and the Placid Lassie and those crews, they're going to be there doing airborne operations for both static line parachutists and free fall jumpers Thursday through Sunday of the first 3 weekends in March. So I invite anybody across America to come out and see it and come.
So for the 75th,
participate.
For the 75th. So Mark and I took the first 2 lead aircrafts, and we were the jump masters for that. And so for me, it was special though, because I was born in France, Toulouse, France. Yeah. And so landing on the ground in France, I actually did think about the OSS, World War II. My dad being stationed there, and growing up there. So it was very unique.
Being a student of history and one of the intelligence apparatus of this country, when I think of individuals like Peter Ortiz that was on the ground at OSS, right? You hear some of the fantastic stories of, I'll share this one really quickly. He was in this bar, a couple krauts in the bar, and they're all talking shit about Americans. He's undercover. He walks back to his room, puts his dress blues back on, goes back in the bar, and kills all the Germans. That just screams America.
Yeah,
you've probably seen him. He's in John Wayne movies, the guy with the patch, eye patch. Yeah.
So incredible. But this is the gentlemen. It does not fall upon me lightly that you guys are part of history, and the continuance of bringing our justice and liberty, right, and the full weight of the American military against our enemies. You guys are a part of that, and you will certainly paved the road for a lot of us young bucks that followed after you in the war on terror. Jim, I want to ask you a few questions. Right, you're sitting amongst these giants, and they come to you and say, "Hey, buddy, we have this idea for a book." You're an esteemed author. What was going through your head at that moment?
Well, actually, I was approached by, I don't know how much of the story I should tell, but
tell it all.
I was approached by a colonel whom we all know, and I may have been in a bar at the time, and may have had a drink or 12 or something. And he said, "Hey, these guys are getting screwed by Hollywood." And I said, "Yeah, well, who hasn't?" And so can you give them a little advice? I said, "Yeah, run the other way." But anyway, we hooked up, and I don't know if I helped him at all, but we as we were talking, we just decided we were going to do a book, and so we finally did it. Kind of took us a while, but we got it done.
You helped us tremendously, that's for sure, and became a very great friend and confidant for us.
Thanks. And I got, been drinking.
I've
been drinking. I have known that bourbon since it was in test tubes, and it's gotten better and better.
There you go.
So,
Absolutely. So, where can people find the book?
Well, we have a website. You can get a signed copy by just you can type in Swords of Lightning into any of your browsers, and it'll come up.
Yep. They can get it anywhere books are sold,
right?
As well. There's an e-reader version, and enjoy getting feedback from different folks that don't know the story, and meet us at different functions or send in an email, just how much they enjoyed the book as a quick read. And swordsoflightning.com. You can get an author autographed copy from there.
Right.
You can also pull up ODA 595.
Yeah, and that goes to it
that way.
It'll come up.
Yep.
But we got a few retail stores are starting to carry it. Some liquor stores actually wanted to carry it alongside the bourbon, Horse Soldier bourbon bottles. And,
we love that.
And just sharing this story.
Yeah.
Around the country, doing bottle signing and tastings of our bourbon, or we call it Whiskey and War Story, where we kind of share more of those leadership lessons, but then talk about Horse Soldier bourbon and how it's grown into, I think we're in 32 states now for distribution. We're in the Army Air Force Exchange, and they've taken us just in the last few months internationally. So we're now in England, Germany, Italy, Japan, South Korea. and very proud of that. But we got great partnerships there. It's fun. It's unconventional warfare. I joke about that, you know, but we have to work by, with, or through partners, you know, and our distributors. And I mean, you guys know this with your business. It's very, to me, it's a thing of pride. Every time I walk into a new steakhouse or a restaurant in a city somewhere, and I see our product sitting on their shelf, or I see someone enjoying a glass of our bourbon, and that's special. That's the American dream, and very proud of that as veterans. You know,
I'm proud of that work, though. I'm telling you, I'm very, very proud of the book and what we've accomplished with it, and what it covers, and that is all the services that came in and helped us. You know, the Marines, the Marine pilots, the Navy pilots, the Air Force pilots, Task Force 160th, the guys on the ground, the guys in Incirlik, Turkey, bringing in supplies to us. But the book really is about the Afghans and us fighting together. And that's why it's so proud, or I'm so proud of the book itself.
Maybe someday we'll make another movie out of this version.
I would like to see that.
Yeah,
We're working on
I would too. So
you know,
give Jim a call. Hit us up, swordsoflightning.com. Now, there's so many incredible stories out there that you guys get a glimpse of this too. Just these veteran stories that are so powerful. You know, we just got to be the first in that post 9/11 era, but then there's so much more. These guys went on and, you know, to Iraq and Afghanistan multiple times, and every guy on that team, the 595 team, stayed in service and retired like Bob with 30 some years of service. Several of them became sergeant majors and were deployed back into Syria for that effort, you know, up through ISIS. So someday, you know, there'll be additional books about all that part of history.
We got to get another writer, or unless he's going to stay with us.
Well, Jim, I like the way you write.
I do too.
We told him it needed more pictures, and we needed a page.
Because I asked him last time, I said, "Hey, would you write another book with us?" And he goes, "I don't know."
When we met him, his hair wasn't gray. I'm just saying.
That's true.
We did that.
True.
But
oh man, I love it.
It's been a journey, and we continue in the next chapter, and that's why I encourage every veterans as they're transitioning. I know that's tough, coming out of military service, whether you served a few years or you served 20 or more. It's daunting and terrifying in some ways, but just have confidence, find that mentor, business mentor and friends that have done it, and go after what you're passionate about, and grow and lead your business. Any veteran, to me, where they were E4 fire team leader through a battalion commander, you have incredible skills, and employers, I encourage them to hire veterans as well.
Absolutely. We talked about that a lot on this program. Is you're more than your MOS when it comes to the military, right? You are a small business. You're a small unit leader. You are, you have all the fundamentals of good leadership, right? Because you went through all the leadership schools, BNOC to the NCO course in the Marine Corps, right? All these things, like that's what we should be putting into our resume. It's not like I was a motor T mechanic or a bolt fuel specialist. No, you were, and we're not taking away from that, but you were so much more that the civilian marketplace will be blessed to have you on their team if you can exhibit what those demonstrate what those fundamentals are.
That mission, focus, and capability.
And we talk about the greatest generation, World War II people, and what they were able to accomplish. And one of the reasons that they were able to accomplish so much after the war was the fact that so many of them were in the military, and they had gotten those skills in leadership and and also discipline. I think, because that's important, and optimism too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've attended a couple of the Whiskey and War stories. They are fantastic. I share that with you guys. If you have the opportunity to join one of those, you're in for a treat. Not only for the good juice that they serve, but some fantastic stories straight from the proverbial horse's mouth from these gentlemen here. We have some other news that we were wanting to share, right? This incredible partnership between Grunt Style and the Swords of Lightning. We've got a couple shirts that we're going to be pushing forward that will be celebrating the book and the things that you're doing. We spent a great deal of time over the last couple months working to come up with the two great designs that I think are extraordinarily awesome, and we're happy to share with them. And they're going to be coming out on February 9th. You can buy them here at gruntstyle.com. We're also going to be putting these into some retail positions, and I would love to have the book be a part of that as well. Absolutely. So we can continue to tell this story and to our audiences, get them closer to the subject matter so they can really understand all that goes into the defense of this country, right? In many different ways, and the great Americans that continually to raise their hand and go off and fight for the values that we believe, and that is what makes this country an incredible country, the best, if you will, on the planet. And it's men like you and the women that we serve with that continue to make this dream and this idea of America better every day, and show the world, hey, freedom comes with a cost, and we're willing to die for it. So I want to say thank you, gentlemen, for all that you do. Any last words you'd like to share with the audience?
I just thank you for the opportunity here to share our story and the partnership, and wish you and your business all the best, and look forward to meeting more of our incredible veterans and just citizens from all over America.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sam, thank you so much for having us. It's been fun the last couple of months, just getting to know you and the team, the staff, and look forward to the partnership. So.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So you'll be able to get the Swords of Lightning product here at gruntstyle.com starting February 9th. You want to check that out. All those proceeds go back to the team so they can continue to do the great things that they're doing. And we are super excited about this partnership. So keep an eye out for that. In the interim, you guys know what to do. Be kind to one another and wash those stinking hands. We'll see you soon.